Alright, so Hare Krishna everyone, thank you so much for coming in the heat. Are you happy to be here? So we thought it wasn't hot enough here, so we made you dance to get it comfortable. Thank you so much for participating and for being here. And yeah, we have a little bit of time this morning to discuss life, the life out there, the life inside here, and perhaps the life that we want to lead as we move forward. Time moves on, and reading the scriptures, discussing Bhagavad Gita, discussing these teachings is very, very beautiful. So that's what we'll try to do. And then we'll save some time for you to maybe ask any questions or share any reflections. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Charine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Yeshakarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Guru Bhagavad. So in order for spiritual knowledge to come about, there has to be a good student and there has to be an authentic teacher. An authentic teacher may be there, but if the student is not in the right frame of mind, then the wisdom won't come about. And similarly, also one requires to access a very powerful teaching, not just from someone who knows it, but from someone who is living it. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is very, very powerful because you have the ideal student, Arjuna, and you have the ideal teacher, Krishna. And so it only takes 45 minutes. And in 45 minutes, everything is understood. All questions are answered, all doubts are resolved. So we live in a world now where we feel like we don't know where to get the right information, isn't it? Like you log on to the news every day and you're not sure, is this really what's happening? Are people telling me lies? It's the world of the cheaters and the cheated. And therefore, to find real knowledge is very, very rare. Once there was a Gujarati and a Marwari. For those of you not familiar with Indian culture, Gujaratis and Marwaris are business people. So they're always looking to make a little bit of money. I'm a Gujarati, I can say that. You can see clearly I failed. But generally, Gujaratis and Marwaris are trying to make money. So the Gujarati had a bright idea. He said, I'm going to open up a surgery. Most Gujaratis are doctors. When I was young, they told me there's 3 options: doctor, lawyer, or failure. So the Gujarati set up a surgery and he said, I will solve any illness you have. And if I can solve it, 20 rupees. And if I don't solve it, I'll give you 100 rupees. So the Marwari was walking by and he was thinking, this is a good opportunity to make money. So the Marwari walked into the surgery and he was thinking, I'll come up with something that he won't be able to detect. So he came to the Gujarati doctor. He said, I got a problem. The Gujarati said, no problem. If I solve it, 20. If I don't, I'll give you 100. Marwari said, I've lost my taste. The Gujarati said to his assistant, bring bottle 22, bottle 22. So he brought bottle 22, he gave it to the Marwari. The Marwari drank it, he said, this is petrol. Gujarati says, clearly you've got your taste back. And they're over, 20 rupees. Oh God, this guy's smart, you know. So then the Marwari came back the second day. He said, I've got a problem. Gujarati said, no problem. If I solve it, 20 rupees. If I don't, I'll give you 100. The Marwari said, I've lost my memory. The Gujarati doctor called his assistant and said, get bottle 22, bottle 20. The Marwari said, no, that's the petrol. Oh, clearly you've got your memory back. And they're over, 20 rupees. And the next day, the Marwari came, he was determined to make some money out of this guy. He came back to the Gujarati, he said, I lost my taste, I lost my memory, I was lying, but I've lost my eyesight. I can't see anything. The Gujarati looked down, he said, I can't do anything about that. Marwari said, no. So the Gujarati gave him 20. The Marwari looked. He said, no, this is 20, it's 100, it's supposed to be 100. Gujarati said, clearly you got your eyesight back. I'll take that 20, give me another 20. So like this, it went on and on. Why am I telling you this story? Because we live in the world of the cheaters and the cheated. We are cheating others, and we are being cheated by others. And therefore in this world it's very, very difficult to gain knowledge which is authentic, which is powerful, which is beautiful. And therefore to access books like the Bhagavad Gita, to access what we call Shastra. You see, Shastra means a weapon. Did you know that? Shastra means a weapon. And why is it considered a weapon? Because it's a weapon which fights against ignorance. It's also a weapon that can cut all your attachments, only holding on to so many things in our life that really speak we need to let go of. And Shastra is a weapon because it protects you. It protects you against yourself. Because did you know that we are our own worst enemies often? We think all the problems are out there. The problem is this person, the problem is the government, the problem is the weather, the problem is so many things. But actually the problem is our own, ourselves, our own perceptions, our own consciousness. And so knowledge is very, very beautiful. Knowledge is very, very powerful. But what I want to share with you today is that becoming knowledgeable in spiritual life is not just about information. Sometimes people think the more I memorize, the more I know, the more stories I can tell people, the more things that I can quote, that makes me more learned, that makes me more knowledgeable. But actually, that's not the case. So today I'll tell you a story from a very, very beautiful book called the Aranyaka Upanishad. Many of you may have heard of the Upanishads. Have you heard of the Upanishads? Upanishads are very, very ancient books. There are many, many Upanishads, and many, many famous stories are told in the Upanishads. The word Upanishad means to sit closely, to sit close by. So traditionally, when you would want to get knowledge in Vedic culture, then you go to a guru and you sit close by to the guru. And the guru would teach you one-to-one anything that you wanted to know. So in the Aranyaka Upanishad, there are many, many beautiful stories. But there's one very, very famous story of Prajapati Daksha. Praja means the population, And Prajapati means one whose task it is to increase the population in the world. And so Prajapati Daksha gives birth to many, many living beings in the world to populate the world. And when you give birth to children, it's not good enough just to give birth to your children, you also have to educate them. So many of you know you have children yourself. Once you have children, you have to educate them. And many of you also know that when you have children, some of them turn out some way, and other children turn out another way. Actually, in Vedic scriptures, it said there are 4 different types of son. I won't go into the details of it. But one type of son is known as a Viniputra. A Viniputra means if in your previous life you cheated someone, sometimes what happens is that person comes back in your next life as your son. And smiling and very, very cute and very, very unassuming and very, very innocent. They say, Papa, Mama, and they take away all your money. So I'm just warning you, it happens. So when you have children, they turn out in different ways, right? Many of you have that experience. So when Prajapati Daksha had children, they turned out in 3 groups, 3 different types of children. One type of children were known as the Devatas, the celestials, the gods. They turned out very, very nice in many ways. Some children turned out as the humans. They were kind of like mixed, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And the other group of children turned out to be the asuras. They were the troublesome ones. So Prajapati had these 3 categories of children. So Prajapati Daksha thought, well, I have to educate them. So he educated them, he tried to give them knowledge, he put them through school. And then finally it came to their graduation. So they were all at their graduation ceremony after many years of studying with their father. And they each came in different groups to their father at the graduation ceremony. And so the first group to come to Prajapati Daksha were the Devatas. And the Devatas, when they approached Prajapati Daksha, they folded their hands and they said, we're now graduating. Do you have any final teaching for us? And Prajapati Daksha looked at them and he said, yes, one final teaching. Da. That was it. Da. Later on, the humans came. They folded their hands in front of Prajapati Daksha. And they said, before we graduate, do you have any final teaching for us? And Prajapati Daksha said, yes. Da. They ran away. And then the Asuras came. And they came to Prajapati Daksha. They said, we're graduating today. Do you have any final teaching for us? Prajapati Daksha said, yes. What do you think it was? Da. So they all went away and they thought about what Prajapati Daksha said to them. And then later on, Prajapati Daksha asked each one of them. He asked the Devatas, the celestials, the gods, I gave you one final teaching, Da. Did you understand what the teaching was? And they said, yes, we understood. The teaching you gave us is Dhammayana, become self-controlled. Prajapati Daksha said, you graduate, you done great. Continue on. The humans came to Prajapati Daksha. Daksha asked them, did you understand the final teaching that I gave you? They said, yes, you told us, Da. Prajapati Daksha said, what does it mean? And the humans said, you told us, Datta, be charitable. Prajapati Daksha said, you graduate, continue forth. And finally the Asuras came, and Prajapati Daksha said, did you get the teaching? They said, yes, we understood, you told us, Da. Prajapati Daksha said, what does it mean? They said, you told us, Daya Dham, be compassionate. Prajapati Daksha said, you understood, you graduate. And like this, all of the 3 groups of Prajapati Daksha's children all graduated, because not only did they understand all the knowledge that he gave them over the years, but they understood the final teaching of character that he was trying to teach them. Now this sounds like a very simple story, but actually it's been commentated on for pages and pages and pages, because there are so many lessons to learn in this story. The first major lesson in this story is never think you've graduated and understood. They went through years of study, and at their graduation, what did they do? They asked more questions. In other words, if one wants to become more and more learned, then one never stops asking questions. Einstein said, never stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. So when you ask more and more questions, when you're inquisitive, then you get more and more answers. And did you know sometimes when you get more and more answers, your intelligence grows, and therefore you have so many more questions to understand the subject matter in a deeper way. The second major teaching in this story is that knowledge is not just about information, but it's about character. After teaching all of his children so much information, the final teaching of Prajapati Daksha was, become a person of good character. And what does good character mean? Self-control. You know how to control your mind. You know how to control your senses. What does good character mean? Charitable, kind, generous, to give to others. And what does good character mean? To be compassionate. To always be unable to tolerate if somebody else is going through difficulty, and to want to in some way help them. But what the teachers explain is that this story goes even deeper. Because what this story is teaching us is that within each one of us there is a Devata. Within each one of us there is a human. And within each one of us there is also an Asura. The first thing is that within each one of us there is a Devata. Devatas are very well known because they achieve incredible amounts of opulence. So in each one of our lives, we receive different types of opulences. And the tendency is, when you get certain opulences in your life, then it can become very, very intoxicating. It can cause pride, and it can cause you to be distracted from the good life. What are the kind of opulences that someone can achieve in their life? How do you know that you got good karma, for example? The Devatas have really good karma, and everyone sitting in this room also has some elements of good karma in their life. What are the signs of good karma? Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, and Shri. These are the 4 broad categories which determine someone who has good karma. Janma means you were born in a good family, with good parents, with a good upbringing, with good opportunities. It means you got good karma. Aishwarya, you have wealth. Money seems to come to you. You have prosperity. It means you have good karma. Shruta, you have good learning. You can memorize things. You're very intelligent, very sharp. Good karma. Shri, Mirror, mirror on the wall. Very beautiful. That means good karma. So anyone who has anything of these has some good karma in their life. Good birth, good learning, good opulence, wealth, beauty. And therefore, Prajapati Daksha said to the Devas, you've got so much of this. Therefore, my teaching to you is, Damyata, be self-controlled. Because these things can distract you. These things can divert you from the goal of life. These things can make you think you're better than other people. These things can make you look down on others. Even if not overtly, covertly. And therefore, everyone has to exercise a certain amount of self-control because everyone has a certain amount of opulence in their life. And that opulence can distract. Not just that, but each one of us have a human inside of us. We're human. And it's very interesting that the lesson that Prajapati gave to the humans was be charitable. Because humans have a tendency to be very territorial. This is mine, this is my area, this is my house, this is my child, this is my this is my that, and don't come anywhere close. We have a tendency to be very, very possessive. Get attached to things very, very quickly. Therefore, the lesson that Prajapati gave to the humans was be charitable, be kind. Always give to others. If you receive something, then share it. If you have something, then open up and let others also benefit as part of that. And if you live that kind of life with charity, then you'll never become attached. Because if you become attached, then again you become diverted from the goal of life. And so the lesson is always be charitable. Once Krishna was with the cowherd boys, and on a hot day like this, they were looking for some shade. And so they all went underneath the tree. And as they were underneath the tree in this beautiful cooling shade in Vrindavan, then Krishna looked at the tree and Krishna recited a very beautiful verse. Aho esham varam janma sarva prani upajivinam sujanasya vaye samvai vimukhai vikantinaitina. Krishna looked at the trees and he said, Aho esham varam janma. Just look at these trees. Their life is successful. Why? Sujanasya vayesam vai vimukha yanti martina. Because nobody ever comes to a tree and leaves disappointed. Why is that? Because a tree, whatever it has, it always uses it in the service of others. A tree has fruits, but it uses that for others. A tree has all these beautiful branches, but it uses it as shade for others. A tree provides so much nutrition, provides us fresh air, gives that to others. So therefore, Krishna said your life is successful because whatever you have, you've used it in the service of others. You are the personification of being charitable. And so in the same way, Daksha told his human sons, we have a human inside of us, we are attached. Therefore, always be charitable. And the final thing is that each one of us have a demon inside of us. And the demon inside of us tends to be very, very harsh, very, very crude. Do you sometimes perceive that harshness within us? Someone does something wrong, a little bit wrong, and immediately we cancel them. Immediately stop talking to people, or we react in very disproportionate ways, very impulsive ways. So we have a tendency to be very, very harsh towards others. And this is the symptom of the demoniac tendency within each one of us. And so Daksha knew that the demons had this tendency, and therefore his instruction to them was, Dayagram, always be compassionate. Always try to see the good. Always try to detect the hidden story behind someone, why someone is doing what they're doing before you react to them. So therefore, sometimes we just react too strongly towards others, and then we cause them harm. And so Prajapati Daksha told Dayadwa, be compassionate. So this is very, very beautiful, this story, because it teaches us that we have to develop these qualities. Number one, be self-controlled. To be very, very aware that we can become intoxicated by the good things we have received in our life, and therefore never to use them for our own enjoyment, but to use them and utilize them in a way that uplifts ourselves and others. We have the tendency to be possessive and attached, and therefore to always use our things charitably, and to always be selfless, render selfless service. And then Prajapati told, be compassionate, be patient, be tolerant, be generous. Don't be harsh, because we have a tendency to be very aggressive and very reactive towards others. So I'm sharing this with you today because this is what we have to become. To become a spiritual person is not just an intellectual thing. To become a spiritual person is to become a person of character. To become a spiritual person means that when people interact with us in the world, they should think these people are different. These people have a character. These people have a quality of how they interact that's completely different to other people. And therefore, one time they asked Srila Prabhupada, how will you know who is a Vaishnava? And Prabhupada could have answered in so many ways. But he said, you know who is a Vaishnava because they will be a gentleman or a gentle lady. In other words, they will have good character. So oftentimes this is what we don't focus on, because we think I'm spiritual because I do X, Y, and Z. But what really makes us a person of spiritual substance is to have good character, to have these qualities. And so I'm sharing this with you. And what I want you to do for the next 2 or 3 minutes is turn to the person next to you and share with each other self-control, being charitable, and being compassionate. Which quality do you think you need to work on the most, and how do you think you could work on that to become a better person? Can I ask you to do that for a few minutes? Just turn to whoever's next to you and tell them of these 3 qualities, which quality do you think you need to work on? And then we're going to come back and answer question and answer. thank you for sharing with each other. And we have a little bit of time, so if anyone would like to ask any questions or if you have any reflections, then we can, yes. Do we have a mic to go around it? If it doesn't work, you can just speak and then I'll repeat it. No, it's okay. Alright, no problem.
Maharaj, it was so great. It was all of those qualities you mentioned is something I need to work on. But one of it was the human thing that you mentioned about being possessive. Is that for me it's so little good that we tend to hold on so tightly? Because we look on one end, that's really bad, the demoniac, and we look at the devtas who have amazing opulences and we get like crumbs. So we're like, hold on.
So what do you have? Okay, yeah, so it's a great question. Why do we get so attached? Why do we hold on to things so tightly? This is a great question. See, the thing is, everyone in the world is looking for rasa, right? Everyone is looking for taste. Everyone is looking for experience. Everyone is looking for some kind of fulfillment. That is the meaning of life. Without that, why would we live, right? So basically, the scriptures explain there are two types of rasa. There's material rasa and there's bhakti rasa. And according to what one is experiencing, they will hold on to that. So we hold on to material things, even when we know it doesn't serve us, even when we know it doesn't bring us happiness, even when we know this is very limited. Why do we hold on to it? Because we don't have anything else. Why do you think people remain in toxic relationships? It's amazing. You're in a relationship, it's destroying you, it's destroying the other person, but you still hold on to it. It's incredible. Because there's some rasa, it's not the best rasa, but it's something, and because we don't have anything else, we think at least this is something, therefore I'll hold on to it. 40 years ago, on cigarette packets, the sign was smoking damages your health. 10 years later, the sign was smoking seriously damages your health. The sign 10 years later was smoking causes cancer. And the sign on the cigarette packet now is smoking kills. This message is getting stronger and stronger, but people are still holding on to the cigarette packet. Why can't they let go? Because although they know it's destroying them, there's no other taste. So we hold on to the things of this world because we don't have something else to hold on to. Therefore we need something, like you're saying, we need something. So we hold on to all of these things. So therefore you find that as soon as one develops spiritual joy, spiritual connection, they're able to let go of things very naturally, very easy. Because one is experiencing something higher. So Krishna explains this in the Gita. Vishaya vinivartante niraha rasudehina rasovarjam rasoprasya param vishva nivartate. You can only give up the lower things if you tasted the higher. So everyone is running around, our mind is hijacked by so many desires. And if you get that person, just that person, that achievement, that house, that job. But when one knows, I have everything I need within me. I'm filled with love, I just have to awaken it. Then you can let go. So that's why we're attached. Because we need some rasa. So where do you get your rasa from? Some. Should the Devatas not give it up as well? The problem is not having it. You can have it, but you shouldn't be attached to it. Because you may notice that everything you have, if you don't let go of it, at one point it will be taken away from you anyway. Therefore, it's not a problem having things, but it's a problem when you become attached to things. Because by the laws of nature, everything will be taken away anyway. So the Devatas, they also have work to do. The Devatas are not perfect. Therefore, the Lord told them, Damyata, be self-controlled, don't get attached. So yes, it's not a problem having all these things, but the problem comes when we're attached to it. Because then we lose it. And then when we lose it, we feel so much pain. Yes.
There are instances where you are attached to the soul as well. Suppose your mother, that's divinity actually. How can you be attached from it?
Yes, so there's people you love in your life, your mother, your father, if you're a parent, your children. So should you not be attached to them? That's your question. Should you not be attached to those people? No, you shouldn't even be attached to them. But you should be affectionate towards them. You should be loving towards them. You should be compassionate towards them. There's a difference between affection and attachment. You can love your mother, you can want to serve your mother, you can be very, very affectionate to your mother, but then you should also understand, my mother is a spirit soul on a journey. I'm a spirit soul on a journey. In this life, we've been connected as mother and son, and therefore we should serve each other. But beyond this life, we're all spiritual beings who are existing in another realm. And therefore, to identify this is my mother is also a material conception. That doesn't mean we should be cold. That doesn't mean we should be not giving our heart, not being affectionate, but it means to understand things in a broader perspective. Yes, you have children. Definitely, you're going to give your love to them. But you have to understand, they're not your children. They are spirit souls who are on a journey, who in this chapter of life have become your children. And therefore, you have to try to serve them in the best way possible. So to be attached means to be attached to the material identity. To be affectionate and compassionate means to serve, understanding the spiritual identity. Do you want to respond to that? Or?
Actually, I didn't tell myself that loss is going to happen at one point. But to gain that consciousness of, okay, when the point comes, how can I make sure that I don't cry or be so attached?
It's not that you shouldn't cry. You can cry. It's good to cry. It means you have a soft heart. If you don't cry. See, Krishna told Arjuna, you're not the body, you're the soul. Arjuna said, I've understood everything, my illusion is gone. And then on the 10th day of the battle, Arjuna's son Abhimanyu died on the battlefield. Arjuna heard, he told Krishna, take my chariot there. Krishna took the chariot there, and in the Mahabharata there's a long session where Arjuna is just crying. So Krishna didn't tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, what's going on? I told you, we're spiritual beings, why are you crying? Krishna didn't say that. Krishna said, you must cry. If you don't cry, you're cold. You're so hard-hearted, you can't even cry for your son? What kind of person are you? But what was the difference? Arjuna cried, but then the very next moment he picked up his bow and he started fighting in the battle. In other words, to become attached means you become so affected by the loss of someone that you can't function in your life anymore. that kind of attachment is unhealthy. And naturally, when a loved one leaves the world, we feel pain, we cry. But then we realize they're on their journey, I'm on my journey, and we must continue on our journey. And that's how to be kind, compassionate, loving, and at the same time, spiritually detached. So that you have to factor in both things. On her behalf. Okay, sure. Yeah, no worries.
How do we develop faith?
How do you develop faith?
Faith in the Lord.
Faith in the Lord. How do you develop faith? Well, how did you... Are you married? You're not married.
She's asked me. I just asked her the question and she said it out loud.
Yeah, no, I just need an example. Anyone here married?
She's married. She's
Okay,
married.
there you go. You're married?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You're married. So how did you develop faith in your partner? I mean, you decided you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person. I mean, that's a massive decision. That's a lot of faith. How did you develop faith in your partner? Something, you must have done something to develop faith, right?
Yeah, but he was there in person and I got to know him.
Yeah, no, so all I'm asking, I'm not asking you to make the parallel, I'm just asking you, what did you do to develop that faith, to say, I don't know what they're saying out there, but they're saying, obviously I'm not serious, but you made a lifetime vow. That's a big thing, right? That's a lot of faith.
Yeah.
So what was it that he did, or what was it that you did, or what was it that happened in the relationship that gave you faith?
Spend time.
You spent time together? Good. What else? Reciprocation. They reciprocated with you. What else? Anyone else can jump in if they want to help, because some of you are married here.
They had fun.
They have fun together, okay.
Served each other.
You served each other.
Trust.
Trust. And how did the trust develop? How did you develop trust? How did it come?
Time.
Honesty.
Time.
You made a sacrifice. You made a risk. They were there for you, right? So if you make a list, what was everything that you did that gave you faith to marry this person? You will find a direct mapping, and you can do every single one of those things with Krishna. But you may say, but Krishna is not in front of me. How can I talk to him? Well, maybe you can. Have you ever tried? Have you ever tried going in front of Krishna, closing your eyes and praying deeply, and then opening your heart to try to hear if he speaks back to you? Ever tried it? Try it. May work. Talk to Krishna, serve Krishna, do something for Krishna. Take a risk for Krishna and see if he shows up. Learn about Krishna. I'm sure you got some references to ask other people, like, what do you think about him as a husband? And some people probably said some good things about him. Maybe you could also do the same with Krishna. Ask people who are very close to Krishna. What is it? Well, who is Krishna? What is it that gives you faith in Krishna? Maybe you can listen to Krishna, hear what he says, and see whether that moves your heart. Because I'm sure you spend a lot of time on the phone with your partner, right? You speak, you hear them, you listen. So every single thing that we do to develop faith in any relationship of this world is something you can do to develop faith in Krishna. The problem is we think Krishna is a concept. We think Krishna is an ethereal figure, a kind of a good idea, but not a real person. But if you for some time just try to interact with Krishna as a person, Krishna says, Yayata mam prapadyate as you surrender, as you approach me, I reward you accordingly. So if you approach me thinking I'm a wooden statue, then I'll be a wooden statue. But if you approach me and treat me as a real person, then maybe just maybe Krishna will treat you as a real person and become really active. What really impressed me about the Hare Krishna devotees when I met them, different things impressed me about them. One thing was how much they could eat. That was very impressive. But the other thing that really impressed me is that they would make statements like, oh, Krishna is telling us something. Or, oh, Krishna is arranging this. Or, oh, maybe Krishna is trying to, guide us here. And it was amazing because I never thought of God as someone who was so active in my life. God is up there, we're down here. But here were people who felt that Krishna was like acting in their life. That was like amazing. Wow, Krishna is active? Yes, you can have a relationship with him. So that opportunity is available for everyone. So, and how do you develop faith? By putting faith also. It's kind of an interesting point. How did you develop faith in your partner? By putting faith in them. And by putting faith in them, they showed up. And then I had more faith in them. So like that. It's a very practical thing. You can do it. Krishna is a real person. Anyone else? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare. Thank you very much. So my question is, in ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Ambarish Maharaj is described, and in there at the beginning it was described that he was 24 hours a day basically engaged in devotional service of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, he was using his legs to go to the temple,
Yes.
his
using all his senses.
etc. But also then it is mentioned that at the same time he was perfectly executing his duties as a king.
So how was he doing both?
How it is practically possible and what kind of practical implications we can take for our lives.
Thank you so much, yes. So, Ambarish, for those of you who don't know, is a great king, and his life is described in the 9th canto. And there are some very beautiful verses which describe his character. Savemana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vacham Shivekun Tagunan Varnane Pado Hare Kshetra Padan Sarpane Karo Rishikesha Pada Vivandane. Like this, many verses are given. He engaged his mind in always thinking of Krishna. Vacham Shivekuntha, his words he engaged in glorifying Krishna. Pado Hare Kshetra, with his legs he walked to holy places of pilgrimage. Karo Hare Mandir Amarjana Disu, with his hands he cleaned the temple of the Lord. Shrimad Tulasya Rasanam, with his tongue he tasted the tulsi leaves. Like this, many things are given. Shrudim Chakara Chita Satta Godaye, with his ears he listened to things about Krishna. So like that. Many, he engaged all his senses. So how is it possible to do that while simultaneously being a king? Well, the person on top has no work to do actually. If you see, like, generally CEOs, they get everyone else to do all the work, and but he was not like that. He was also working. Prabhu, there are 24 hours in a day, and you may be surprised how much you can fit into a day if we don't waste time. It's amazing, Srila Prabhupada, how much he was able to fit in to his life because he didn't waste time. When you utilize time, time expands. So what happens is the great devotees, they're able to deal with their material duties, they're able to meet up with the demands and the responsibilities of life, and they simultaneously find time to engage in direct spiritual practices because basically they don't waste time. And so that's how I would say Ambarish Maharaj did it, and that's how all the great devotees do it. Just look at all the time wasters in our life. We waste time on devices, we waste time sleeping, we waste time, like when you go from one place to another, there are many things you can do, right? You don't have to, you can still be engaged, right? I once counted how many lectures I've listened to while in a car. It was in the thousands. Because for many years I traveled around distributing books around the UK. Did a lot of driving, thousands of miles. A lot of driving. I once calculated how many miles I'd driven traveling around the UK, which is a small country, and it added up to about 3 times around the earth. That's how much driving we did. Many, many miles. You can listen to lectures. Right, so if you're expert, you can find ways in which to connect with Krishna at all points in your life. But the real thing is to not waste time and to have desire. So that's what Ambarish had. And so he was able to do so much. Yes.
How do you control anger? Like you realize it later, but at the instant, like we want to react. How you cannot do that?
So when we feel the emotion of anger, what should we do, and how do we control it? See, a lot of it happens before you even come to that emotion. Right? Like what you feel in the moment and what you do in the moment will very much be determined by what you did before. So there's a moment of anger, there's a moment of temptation, there's a moment of shock or confusion because something happened. And how do we react in those moments of temptation, anger, confusion, shock? What happens in that moment is a result of what we've been doing in the many moments before. So it's not, so the one question is, how can I control myself in the moment? But in one sense, you can't control yourself in the moment because whatever you fill your consciousness with is what will come out in the moment. Am I right? Right? Like if you squeeze a lemon, you can't say like, how can I squeeze a lemon and get orange juice out of it? How can I squeeze a lemon so that orange juice, it's what is inside will come out. Right? So therefore, we have to purify our character, we have to engage in sadhana, we have to fill our minds with spiritual knowledge so that we see things not through the emotions, but we see things through the intelligence. And we have to live in sattva, all of these things. If you do all of these things, then even in moments where anger comes, you won't act on the anger. Everyone will get angry. Everyone will get times when desires come up in their mind. Everyone will have times when they feel shocked or confused about life. But you have a choice whether to act on that emotion or not. And that choice of whether to act on the emotion or not will be determined by how much you've molded your character through spiritual practice. And so, I could give you many, many practical things like, okay, step number 1, when you get angry, don't do anything. Step number 2, take 10 deep breaths and just think about it. I can give you many practical, and those are useful, but the real thing is we have to become a person of spiritual purity, and that comes by our daily practice. Alright? Yes.
So I have two distinguished questions. One is how to not have expectations, basic expectations when you feel you've done enough. And
You mean
second,
expectations with other people?
with other people, yeah, in relationships in general. And the second question not linked to this is
Okay, should I do
you
it the
answer
first
this
time?
and then yeah, I
So how not to have expectations when you have relationships with other people? The first thing we have to understand is that all I'm in control of is myself. I can't control how other people act. I can't control what happens out there. I can't even control my fortunes in life. All I can control is my own emotions. And therefore, not to speak even about expectations of other people, expectations of the world, expectations of what will happen, all of those expectations lead to great frustrations because we're placing our faith in something that we're not in control of. One of the great arts of life is to only put your full faith in that which you, or to put your full energy in that which you're in control of. But you will say that is hard because we give to people, we sacrifice for people, and then naturally we expect reciprocation, naturally we expect from them. But what happens is that when one is connected with God, when one is connected with Krishna, then what one realizes is that I've already received so much from Krishna. I've received so much in my life from Krishna, I don't have a need to expect anything from anyone else. Now that may sound very, very high, that may sound very, very far away, that may sound very, very unrealistic, but it happens actually. Once one realizes, I've received so much already, why do I feel like I need to get so much from other people? When your heart is filled with gratitude, your expectation is very, very low. When gratitude is high, expectation is low. And when gratitude is low, expectation is very, very high. So, we have so many things we expect. Life should be like this, people should be like this, I should get this, that should happen. But the real trick is when one can go in front of Krishna and say, you already gave me so much. You already gave me way more than I could ever dream of. What more can I ask of you? Then the question becomes not what is my expectation, then the question becomes what can I give? That's the difference. Who is that person who's looking at everyone around them and saying, what can I give? That is a fulfilled person. So I know it's hard, but the more you become fulfilled, the more you become grateful, naturally the less expectation you have of others. And when people don't meet up to your expectations, then realize they are humans. They're going through what they're going through, and don't take it personally. Of course.
Thank you. The second question is about making some decisions. So often we land up getting started, land up with conclusions. Sometimes I'm very swiftly, immediately take big decisions in life, but often the very small decisions that get stuck. And then because you've not seen the other side, you just feel the decision that you took is not right, I should have taken that. Once you take that, you feel that the path which you did not travel often seems to be cleaner than the one that you took eventually. So how to be sure that the decision that you are taking is the right and you stick to it, and if the result is good or bad, you still know that it's your decision and it was right. So because you do not know what would have happened if you would have taken the other one.
Yeah, every moment you have to take decisions, and taking one decision necessarily means not taking another decision. So the success of a decision is not in the outcome. The success of a decision is in the process that you went through to make that decision. So, for example, if you think about everything, you weigh it up, you don't make an impulsive decision. That's the first good step to make the right decision. The second thing is, ask friends, ask people around you, get advice before you make a big decision. And the third thing is, pray to Krishna. Krishna is in your heart, Krishna is a person, he'll speak to you. If you use your intelligence, you use the help of other people, and you try to connect with the inspiration of Krishna, and then you make a decision, it doesn't matter what happens after by your perception of whether it's a good or bad decision, it's a good decision. Because you went through the right process to make that decision. And even if it's the wrong decision, Krishna will make it the right decision. A decision is not right because of the outcome. A decision is right because of the process that you went through to make that decision. And once you make the decision through the right process, it will always be the right decision. It will always be a beautiful decision. And Krishna will always arrange for you to receive what you're meant to receive in your life through that decision. And so we have to realize that we're not the controllers of the world. Krishna is the controller. And all I can do is try to align myself with Krishna's will. And if I do the best I can, and it leads me to this decision, then I have to then from there have the faith that Krishna will arrange everything from that decision to take me to where I need to go. So we're not the controller. It's not our decision. Our lives are not depending on making the right decision. Our lives are dependent upon making the right, going through the right process to make a decision. And if you do that, every decision will be good. And Krishna will make every decision good. You'll never be able to make a mistake, actually. If you use your intelligence, you take guidance, and you try to connect with Krishna's guidance. And if you do those three things, every decision will be good. Okay. All right.
Sometimes we meet people when we're preaching that they often have we say put faith in Krishna, but then they see the people who have a faith in Krishna and they have a not so good experience with them. Like you said that.
Yeah. So people meet the devotees of Krishna, and they maybe have a certain perception of how they should be, but when they meet them, they're not as impressive as they thought. Their character is maybe lacking. Sometimes people even say, non-spiritual people have better qualities than spiritual people, so how do we deal with that? Yeah. Therefore I said, what does it mean to be a devotee of Krishna? It doesn't mean, it's not a label, it's not an external identity, but it's a quality of character. However, we have to understand that everyone is in the process, and everyone is improving, and everyone is working on their character. And therefore, we can't also expect every devotee or every spiritual practitioner to be at the perfectional stage. They're on their way there, they're improving. You may look at Hare Krishna and say, definitely falling short of the ideal character, but what you may not see is how they would have been if they hadn't even started the process. Right? Don't look at how far someone is from the ideal, also look how much they've improved from where they were. Right? You can also look at it like that. The other thing is, people may say, well, I look at the Hare Krishnas and they're less than ideal. But in any movement, you'll find people of different quality. So you can look at a movement and you can judge the movement by the people who are less than ideal, or you could look at a movement and judge them by the people who are living on the highest level of purity, because you'll find a spectrum. So we should try to be a good example. We should know that people are judging the philosophy based on who we are as individuals, and therefore we have a great responsibility.
So as humans, we are always attached to our close ones, and we are almost worried about, what my mother will happen, what my kids will happen. And all these discussions are always having a negative emotions towards your kids or your other family members. So you should have done this, you should have done that. Does that mean that we should stop all of this, saying to them and say, Krishna is there and the path will be defined? Or because whenever you do this, it causes more anger, more negative emotions, and more separation among two individuals.
You have to guide your children, but you can't force your children. What can you do? One extreme would be to say, I'm out, you guys figure it out, it's your life, do what you want to do. And another extreme is, okay, I'm telling you what to do, make sure you do it like this. And maybe there's a middle ground whereby we give them knowledge, we give them education, we give them the best of opportunities, and then finally after we've given them everything, we step back and say, like Krishna says to Arjuna, Iti te jnanamakyatam bhuyat bhuyataramaya vimrashe tadesheshena yat ichcha tatha kuru. After we've given them everything, just like after Krishna has given Arjuna everything, Krishna says, I've given you the knowledge. Think about it. Yata ichcha tatha kuru. And now you do what you want to do. And it's so hard to say that. Now you do what you want to do. But we have to follow the example of Krishna. That's what Krishna says. So it's hard. Right? Your children are like an extension of yourself. I was thinking about this the other day, I can't imagine for a mother, when they see their child, this person was inside of you. That's that's kind of fascinating to me. There's such a bond there, right? They're almost like part of you. What does that feel like? This person was inside of me. Fascinating. So naturally, you have an attachment, some kind of deep, but then here I am also saying you have to be detached. And if you don't culture that detachment through knowledge, ultimately you'll have to become detached because they're going to do what they're going to do. So guide, inspire, be a good example, educate, encourage, and then at the end, step back and say, all right guys, it's your life. Go for it. And hope. It all works out. I see more hands, but I don't know if we should go on, what should we do, because...
Go on. we get
okay, until someone tells me to stop. Yes, sorry.
I just had one question on faith aspect that you brought up. Sometimes you ask, right? Have you talked to Krishna? Have you tried? I have. I grew up with Krishna consciousness actually when I've been.
Okay, so I'm just repeating why you're saying it. So I said that you should speak to Krishna and you should interact with him, and you grew up with Krishna consciousness and you tried to do that.
Yeah, and now I've been a little bit distant from it, been busy raising my family. And I wonder sometimes when I speak, and I get little signs in certain ways and forms, I wonder, it's like, oh, I've been pushing for a job, I get a new job, okay, is it Krishna who made the job? Was it just meant to be? Was it destiny? Was there energies? The logical part of you is questioning faith, and I'm like, is this faith really, what? Is it really Krishna
Krishna talking, or is it my logical side of me?
And also the
Okay,
silence.
yes, so good point.
Yeah. Said also the silence many times.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, Krishna is silent. You don't feel the reciprocation. Okay, so everyone got the question? I just repeat it as though I was you. I'm in Krishna consciousness. I was practicing. Nowadays, I feel a little bit more distant from Krishna consciousness, from Krishna. Sometimes I feel like Krishna maybe is reciprocating, but then sometimes I think, is it just me convincing myself that Krishna is there? Is it really true? All of that kind of stuff. Right? First thing is like, we also don't, in life we don't function only through logic. Like say for example, tomorrow you go into Costa Coffee and you order a cappuccino and you taste it and it's good. You're not like, do I really think this is good, or am I just convincing myself I'm feeling it's good? Like, we don't live like that, right? You go out, you do things, you feel it, and you do it. Like you met someone, you felt it, and you kind of went with it. You didn't over logic the whole thing, right? Did you do a criminal record check on your husband before you married him? You didn't, right? Like that would have been the logical thing to do, but you didn't do that. You kind of went with your heart, right? So we don't live life through the logic. That doesn't mean logic is not important. It just means logic shouldn't like constantly block our experiences, otherwise we can't move forward. So we don't live like that. But somehow when it comes to Krishna consciousness, everything is logic. Oh no, I'm really true. Am I really happy? I'm dancing, but I don't know, is this really, am I really experiencing Krishna? Like, it becomes very analytical sometimes to an unnecessary degree. So let me just say that first. Nobody lives life without going a little bit with the heart. We go with the heart all the time. We do that. Now, experiencing Krishna. But I don't experience Krishna. Krishna doesn't appear to me. Krishna doesn't talk to me. I've done stuff for Krishna, but I don't really feel like I'm getting a result. Let me invite you to think about something. I'm guessing you got a degree. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. You got a degree? You got a pretty decent job, I'm sure, right? You have children? Okay. How old are they?
One girl, she is 16 months.
16, okay. Think about all of these things. To get a degree, to get a job, to raise children. How much time, effort, energy, blood, sweat and tears did you engage for that achievement? Okay? Think about that for a second. And now ask yourself, in order to find a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if I was to compare how much time, energy, and resource I've put in to developing that relationship, proportionate to how much time, energy, and resource I put into achieving the things of this world, what do you think the ratio would be? But no, Krishna doesn't appear to me. I prayed, but Krishna didn't appear. I have serious doubts. But imagine how much time, energy, and resource and effort you put into achieving the things of this world, and then you got a result. So what I would suggest is that Krishna is reciprocal. And if we're not feeling a connection, we may want to ask ourselves, how much of myself am I really investing in this? Because ultimately, what you put in is what you get out. So, if you want to achieve Krishna, it's not cheap. Right? It's not a cheap thing. Yes, you can have some token, cultural, religious faith in Krishna, and that's nice. But maybe if you do that, you'll never really experience Krishna. Do you really want to experience Krishna? Once, Prabhupada was in Bury Place, the first temple in London, and in the middle of the lecture, someone stood up and said, "Have you seen Krishna?" Prabhupada looked at this person and said, "Yes, I have. Haven't you seen Krishna?" And the person said, "No, I haven't." Prabhupada looked straight at this person. There was pin drop silence in the room. Prabhupada looked straight into his eyes and said, "You haven't seen Krishna?" He said, "No." Prabhupada said, "Do you want to see Krishna?" And the person in that moment looked down and he shook his head and he said, "I don't." Prabhupada said, "Therefore, you cannot see Krishna." I invite you to ask the question, do I really want to see Krishna? And if you say yes, the next question we have to ask you is, where is the time, energy, resource in your life going to reflect that? Because what you put in is what you get out. Krishna is available, but Krishna makes himself available for those who make themselves available for him. In other words, Krishna doesn't force himself into your life. Krishna is not going to kick down your door and say, "Here I am." No, Krishna is waiting, patiently waiting. But we don't turn to him. We worship Krishna, but then when we have a problem, we turn to something else. So all I'm saying is Krishna is reciprocal. And if you try, if you make an endeavor, Krishna will show up. But it's not cheap. Right? Some thoughts. Yes? Is it possible to experience Krishna through your day-to-day activities? At the beginning of any spiritual discourse, we say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Vasudevaya is a beautiful name of Krishna. It means Krishna who pervades everything. Krishna is not just available on a certain day, in a certain activity, at a certain place. Krishna is all pervading. You can meet Krishna everywhere. Krishna says to Arjuna in the Gita, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chāmai pasyati tashyaham na panashyami satamena panashyati. Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So when one actually becomes a devotee, it's not that they have a material life and a spiritual life. Monday to Friday is my material life, and then there's time for spirituality on the weekend. No, your whole life becomes spiritual. How will you see Krishna in your day-to-day life? If you connect your day-to-day life to Krishna. Yat karoshi, yadashnashi, yat juhoshi, dadashiyat, yat tapashi shikonteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever sacrifices, penances you perform, do it in connection with me. So if you're a mother, don't just be a mother, be a spiritual mother. If you're an entrepreneur, don't just be an entrepreneur, be a spiritual entrepreneur. Whatever you do in the world, do it with Krishna in the equation, and then you'll see Krishna. Simple as that. So how much will you see Krishna? According to how much you brought Krishna into your life. But we want to see Krishna, but we don't bring him into our life. So then it's like, it doesn't make sense. So it's, you have to, what can I say? It's also, you have to work. You should not think spiritual life is just like something that happens automatically. You need to make an effort. Just like we made an effort for all the things of this world. You know, like in the temple, we have to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. So, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning is time when you have huge existential doubts. Like, my God, why am I doing this? So I remember once, very early after becoming a brahmachari, the alarm went off at like 4 o'clock or something. 3:30 maybe. And I was just like, why does Krishna wake up so early? This is too much. 3:30 in the morning. And as I was making a decision whether to get up or not, my phone rang. Of all things, 3:30 in the morning. And I looked at it and it was one of my old uni friends. I was like, why is he calling me at 3:30 in the morning? It was one of my old uni friends, so I picked it up. He said, I knew you'd be awake at this time. I said, I wasn't planning to be actually, I was planning to sleep in. I said, why are you awake at this time? And he works for JP Morgan. He was working for JP Morgan at that time. So he said, I'm on a deadline, and we have a project coming up, and so I had to do an all-nighter at work. So I've been sitting at my office desk all night to finish this project. And he thought, he said, I know you guys get up early, so I thought I'd just give you a call. I'm finishing up for the day. And in that moment, I jumped out of my sleeping bag. I said, I'd much rather be waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go and see Krishna than going to sleep at 4 a.m. in the morning because I had to do an all-nighter at work. I realized in that moment it's hard to get up, but it's also hard to work for something that brings no happiness ultimately. Everyone's working hard. Everyone's working hard, trust me. It depends what you want to work hard for. Exercise is hard, but falling ill is hard. Studying is hard, but failing your exams is hard. Finding Krishna is hard. But not finding Krishna and being lost in the material world with no purpose is even harder. Dear friends, life is hard. You have a choice which path you want to take. So therefore, don't take Krishna cheap. Make an effort. And if you make an effort, Krishna is a chuka. A chuka means he never fails in his reciprocation. But not cheap. Therefore, give your heart and Krishna will give himself. Hare Krishna. Alright, I think we'll finish it.